Well, it wasn't just, there's still time.
Do they know? Kelly, you in the school or anything?
Oh, yeah.
There's more snow or
There is.
I'm just
There was nobody there this morning.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I call to order the February 2019 meeting of the Fox Point Village Board at 7200 North Santa Monica, Fox Point, Wisconsin. I'll ask the clerk treasurer to call the roll.
Trustee Fonstadt?
Here.
Trustee Simchich? Trustee Sumner? Here. Trustee Tirado? Trustee Cravit?
Here.
Trustee Ullman?
Here.
And President Frazier.
Here, we move to agenda item 2, having established that we have a forum persons desiring to be heard. Everybody gets 3 minutes. You can talk about items on or off the agenda. If you want to defer your time to when the agenda item is called, you may. If you want to divide your time up between now and later, you may. We have a few speaker cards, but we will not limit participation to those. Julie Goldberg.
Can I just defer till we get to the property on 411?
Of course.
Thanks.
Andy Dakin. Yes, please step up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, and proceed.
My name is Andy Dakin, and my address is 7470 North Lombardi. And thanks for taking the time to hear me. And the issue I wanted to talk about is Lake Drive road quality. One thing as a cyclist that I frequently worry about is hitting a pothole and having an accident on my bike. I actually had an accident on my bike last year in Lake Mills and ended up needing surgery for it. And something I worry about a lot is road quality. And I noticed that Sherwood took the time to pave Lake Drive, and I think that it's made a huge difference for cyclists. And so I was just wondering if you could talk about it in their plans to do the same for Lake Drive and Fox Point.
We'll refer your remarks and your questions to staff, and you can be in touch with staff, and they'll be in touch with you about your concerns, and we'll address your questions. Not now, but yeah, at a later time.
And if you want to, the gentleman in the dark blue sweater back there, you can grab him and he can tell you everything you want to know about Lake Drive. So you do that stuff.
But we're afraid to pass. Any other person wishes to be heard on matters on or off the agenda, at least at this point? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item 3, the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So, Mr. Fonstadt, is there a second? Mr. Ullman, is there discussion on any item on the consent agenda? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, toto, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. We move to item 4A under unfinished business, the vacation rental housing. We brought this up last month. As you might recall, the village attorney, and he can help us out again, has informed us that state law now requires changes to our ordinance because it supersedes what law we previously had. And we decided to think about it at least for a month to decide what might make sense for Fox Point within the limitations that the state law has now imposed. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Yes. So, I
Can I ask a question? Does any member of the board wish for me to recopy what I emailed to you about 2 weeks ago so I can make a hard copy if anyone needs one or wants one? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think the only task that came out of the previous discussion was that I was going to send some models, and that's what Scott was referring to, is that there are a couple of models. You may have, if you look through them, notice that I think those models are quite similar to what was proposed here. One reason for that is we have a confined space to operate our regulations in now under the state laws, and so the models, at least at my office, are looking quite similar. As with last month, if you want to move this forward, we could talk about changes to some of the license requirements, or we could put it to the Plan Commission to discuss it. It is a zoning matter, so it does require a recommendation from the Plan Commission. So that would be another option, would be to refer this to a Plan Commission. It does require a public hearing, so we would eventually need to set a public hearing.
Mr. Ponce?
Yeah, thank you for sending us a couple of examples of other approaches taken by other municipalities. They work quite similar to what you proposed. I did notice a couple of differences, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to comment on them. One of the other examples had penalty provision that was fairly, I would characterize it as penalty provision. And one of the other examples, I think, had an inspections provision, which I did want to ask you about whether we could have a provision that would require a building inspector, fire department inspections, for code compliance and safety. So I would just say editorially that I think one of the overarching concerns with residential rentals is that I think generally the upkeep on owner-occupied properties is better than it is for rental properties. You have, sort of the pejorative absentee landlord kind of effect, and as a stewards of the village, we want to do what we can to maintain the quality of the housing stock and preserve the residential character of the village. And it seemed like those kind of provisions would strengthen our hand.
Sure. As to the penalties, this is in the zoning code, so the zoning code penalties will apply. I think the model you were referring to, they wanted to have enhanced penalties. They wanted to have more than their standard penalties apply for these kinds of uses, and so that's something we could look at, having a higher penalty range for violations of this code. That's a policy issue, so however you want to handle that, I can write that in. Inspections is another one, is another policy issue. We can put in that inspections on reasonable notice are required. What we would be looking for in the inspections would be compliance with this code, probably. We would probably not, we typically do not go into existing residences to make sure that they currently comply with the building code. Compliance is required when it's built. So that's something we would need to define. So what are we looking for when we're inspecting?
Well, and would we inspect when we, as a precondition, issue a license or remove a license? Is that how it would work?
That would be one way to do it. I think that would be reasonable way to do it. you could establish a fee that covers that cost.
Mr. Omer?
Well, this is a business, right? And it's not a business?
Well, that's a great question. When I've litigated these, I've argued it's a business. The courts don't always agree with me. So, under the state law, it is a use of a residential property.
But it's to rent it out, it isn't like somebody renting a house for a year at a time, it's to rent it out for a week or a month. And they gotta get a permit or whatever, and business has to be inspected by the fire department and building inspector, I believe.
It's a gray area, it sounds like.
Well, I think that just on the inspection part of it, it's something that I think we have latitude to build in an inspection commission. That's what I heard council say. On the issue of is it a business or isn't it, this gets into a very I would say touchy kind of area, because normally residential properties are used for residential purposes, and uses which are accessory to a dwelling purpose. And I think this is just the way I've been able to reconcile in my own mind is that I think what the legislature has done here is to implicitly say that renting out your home, your house, for a vacation, what's called a vacation rental, is an accessory, a permitted accessory use of the dwelling. It's a kind of an, I think it's a question that we should keep our eye on, because other kinds of uses which are not typically made of a house would not be necessarily a permitted accessory use under our zoning code. So that's one of the questions I had for council was, I am assuming that the residential zoning kind of overlays this so that the property would still have to be, in a residential property would still have to be used primarily as a dwelling.
That's true. I think you've given a very good explanation of the state of the law. It is a permitted accessory use if it's done in compliance with the state law and our local ordinance.
I have a question for council. Procedurally, we have to refer this to the planning commission.
Right.
Is that right? Do we refer this to the planning commission, giving the planning commission a sense of the board's thinking on this, or do we just wait until it comes back?
In the past, often the board will refer to the planning commission and assume that it will come back next month and set the public hearing for the next month. Whether you want to give the planning commission a sense of it or not, that's up to the board, but you can't act on it formally until after the public hearing.
Right. Well, okay. So let me propose this. Hey, let's do a quick straw poll. Okay. Let's by a show of hands, how many board members feel that it would be appropriate to have an enhanced penalties provision?
I think we need to know what the current penalties are in the zoning code.
Okay. Mr.
I believe it's up to $1,000 for the first day of violation and up to $2,000 for the second day of violation. Nope, I'm off. It's $1,500, $2,500. And each day of violation is separate.
Yeah, Mr.
my sense is that, my personal view, and this is, only me speaking, is that that's probably adequate, given that the, sort of the economic incentive of rent versus the penalty, potential penalty.
Yeah, we can, depending on our experience with this, we can always revisit it if we're having a problem. Nothing is written in stone in this regard. All right, so, is it the sense of the board that that is satisfactory? Yes, okay. How about inspection? Is it the sense of the board that we should have specific inspection provisions before we issue or review a license? Let's say by show of hands?
Should we include payment of an inspection fee prior to the inspection to cover our costs?
I think that would be permitted, Mr. Larson.
I believe it would be permitted. I think we can recover our actual costs.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak to the inspection issue?
Yeah, these are characterized as vacation rentals, so, for what's called tourists. Now, if you go into the statute and you look and see what a tourist is, anybody's a tourist, as long as they are not staying in their own home. And a vacation rental is not limited to people on vacation. It's just a rental of a residential property. So there's a little bit of nomenclature that's used that is not that would lead you to believe that this is to promote tourism. That's my characterization, but it's really about restricting the ability of a municipality to regulate residential rentals. Having said that, I think since we're talking about ordinary people renting out their homes for somebody who doesn't ordinarily live there, I think safety is an issue. I think an inspection is an appropriate thing to do. I don't know if it's necessary to have in every instance, but certainly if there's any concerns about the property, I think we need to have the ability for both the building inspector and the fire department to look at the property.
I mean, I think we're not even having inspections for apartments, right? When people move in and out?
Well, I think now
I mean,
We do have a
I thought that was removed.
We had to drastically change it. That was taking a lot.
I think what you're
So,
thinking about
this
is,
seems like
I think what you're thinking about is, we used to
something else
have,
compared to like an apartment that you're relying on a management company to, maintain. I don't know, it seems a little excessive to me.
we used to have an occupancy permit requirement when a home was sold. And before you could move in, you had to get an occupancy. The state legislature eliminated our ability to have that. We had we had a long-standing dispute over access to apartment buildings to look at them. And we came up with a compromise where we still have the ability to inspect apartments, but it's not as extensive right as we wanted it to be.
Yeah, that's a fair summary of where we stand on that. But that one went back and forth for years. All right, well, my suggestion is I would like to make a motion to refer this to the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission can take into account that several board members thought that perhaps an inspection provision might make sense. And let's see what the Plan Commission comes back with. Yes.
I had just a couple more questions that as long as I've got the attorney here. The model ordinance, or the proposed ordinance talks about rental establishments being subject to and complying with the Wisconsin Administrative Code Section ATCP 72. Can you tell me generally what that is?
Agricultural Trade and Consumer Protection regulates vacation rentals, tourist rooming houses. They have quite a number of standards. Actually, they have building code standards, fire protection. I think I believe the last I looked, it still required sprinkling of tourist rooming houses, which is one thing that is going to eliminate a lot of these homes. If they're truly in compliance, they probably won't have that. They have a number of limits, including number of people that can be present in the tourist rooming house. I don't have it here, I will tell you.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's going to be worth looking at it. The other question I had is, one of the standards that's in the draft ordinance is that it says that the village manager shall consider the potential impact to the surrounding neighborhood, and it goes on. I was curious about the shall consider language, and what that means. And it seems to imply that the manager could deny a license if the manager determines that there would be a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. It seems kind of without standards. I don't know, not a lot of standards. So that's my question. What can you comment on?
Well, when you single it out, I think it could be more defined. The problem is, how do you define it? And I think when this was developed by probably another community, following models from other places, they wanted to have some ability to look at that issue. And that's as far as they got it to design, and they carried it forward. Because if there is some significant reason that this particular house has an unusual and different impact due to traffic, due to the way the roads are designed, due to the way the houses are sitting, different from the rest of the community, this gives you a chance to look at it.
Okay, well, I'd ask you to consider maybe, I'm looking at the language to see if it can be stated a little bit, sort of be a little bit
More precise.
well and sensible. Maybe, if we got into a dispute. So anyway, I second your motion.
Thank you. I recognize Mr. Toronto. We're at the discussion stage, by the way.
I didn't get a copy of this, I don't know. I just checked my email to see if I get a copy prior to me. So just kind of going through a copy of Trustee Holman's here quickly. Well, on the inspection, it seemed like it was a 3-3. 3 may have been in support of the inspection, but 3 people didn't raise their hands. So I don't know what we're going to refer to the planning commission, whether that's some did or it wasn't a majority.
No, what I said was that several board members expressed an opinion that maybe an inspection would be appropriate.
What the state tourist rooming house license, is that for any, what is a state tourist rooming house license?
There it is.
Okay.
You want to read it out loud?
Tourist rooming house means any lodging place or tourist cabin or cottage where sleeping accommodations are offered for paid tourists or transits. Do not include a private boarding or rooming house, ordinarily conducted as such, not accompanying tourists or transits.
And the tourist is.
This is like a dramatic reading.
It is.
Yes.
Tourist or transient means a person who travels from place to place away from his or her permanent residence for vacation, pleasure, recreation, culture, business, or employment.
Pretty broad.
Yeah. There's a lot of different reasons to look at it.
You and me.
So what is, this is basic, how is this, like, what's the difference between that and like, someone moves out of town, can't sell their home, so they rent it for a year or 2 years until they can sell it? What happens in that scenario? Is that inspected? Is there fees for that?
Short answer is no, it's not regulated at all. This vacation rental and the tourist rooming house license that the state has is directed as short-term rental, not anything over 29 days.
But I think, Mr. Carter, you point to the question that is raised is, some people may be interested in renting their house for a week because the golf tournament is nearby. And that would be the last time in 6 years they entertain it. Other people would want to do this frequently. And those are very different kind of situations.
So the consecutive days, at least in this one example here, 6 consecutive days or rental of a residential dwelling for 6 consecutive days or fewer is prohibited. Okay. So, I guess, yeah, me personally, I mentioned this the last meeting, that's where I had some challenge with this. I tend to favor this as more, and this goes back to the plan commission, is more the broad side of this, in the sense that this is part of the new economy. I mean, the Lyft and Uber and the sharing economy, this is part of a new reality. I think that we can, at least me personally, I think that when I think of like the residents and citizens of Foxborough, it comes to a point where we can come up with something that is allows for people to say, again, a golf event that they're going to be out of town for anyways, for a 3-day rental one time per year, as opposed to a significant difference of someone saying, I'm going to have a property and I'm going to put it as a rental for, and that's really going to be a business. I'm really going to just rent this thing out constantly like on Airbnb. I mean, I know people, and myself included, for things like a Summerfest, Harley Davidson. Again, those are good examples of like once a year for the 3-4 days. I would make it. I think 6 is too restrictive. And some of the complaints that were brought up just briefly at the last meeting. I mean, there's things like noise or parking issues. We have other regulations for that. And I think a lot of these cases, when these things happen, a lot of times it's can be rented out for people that are acquaintances. It can be rented out. If you take a look at, again, what Airbnb and Vrbo do, including like Lyft and Uber, is very transparent who the people are. There's reviews, and you don't have to rent it out to people that don't get good. You want to get good reviews to be a good tenant or a good rider. I think some of the ones, there's an example in the past, there's been some problems at a house for noise or some other excessive partying. There's other ordinances for that. I kind of look at that as the problem is the homeowner. That's more negligence of the homeowner than it is really on behalf of the tenant. So, I don't know. But again, yeah, I do it as a process, but it's referred to plan commission. But those are kind of my general comments. I just don't know how that goes. I don't know what they're going to take from it. Like, are they just going to start from?
Yeah, they'll probably start from the beginning.
Okay.
That's my guess. All right, anything else before we refer this to the Plan Commission? Those in favor of referring this matter to the Plan Commission, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Refer to the Plan Commission, and it'll likely come back to us next week.
You want to set a public hearing for next time?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Would it be appropriate for our next meeting?
If you want to give the Plan Commission a couple months, you can set it a couple months down the road. Whatever you want. If we set it for next meeting and it doesn't come back, they have it on the agenda, but we'll defer it to the next time.
True. Mr. Meltzer?
Well, it's taken us a couple of meetings to sort of get our hands around this, so I would suggest that we give the plan a couple of meetings.
All right, so why don't we set this 2 months out? This is February, April, perhaps? That should give the plan commission enough time to mull this over. I agree, it's a little bit complicated. There's lots to consider.
Should we need a motion for that, or? just-
Well, you could say by unanimous consent.
Okay.
By unanimous consent, without objection, we will set a public hearing for our April 2019 meeting. Very good. We'll move to, is that the agenda item 4B, an ordinance to create section 292-5.5 of the Village of Foxborough Code concerning obstructions and encroachments in the village right of way, second draft. Mr. Village Attorney.
So these issues came up last month as well. This item and the next one are related. They both concern telecommunications facilities. We have new regulations from the FCC about what we can and can't do in regulating small cells. It actually ties into large cell towers issues as well. I recommended that we approach the issue in two ways. One is to beef up our right-of-way ordinance, and the other is to make some changes to our telecommunications ordinance. I was directed to put those ordinances together, and that's what you have before you. The reason the right-of-way one is labeled as second draft is Scott Brandmatter had a chance to review the first draft between the meetings, and so we put together a second draft. But you never saw the first draft. This is the first one for you.
Any questions about the proposed ordinances?
Well, I've noticed that on page 3, which is page 91 of the packet, the application requirements, and number 2 has provisions for a fee, which is to be established by resolution of the board. And my question is that something we need to include in any action we take on this?
Eventually you'll need to establish a fee. Yeah, it wouldn't need to be done at the same time.
Okay. So we can have staff make a recommendation to us, because
Yes.
it has to be related to the costs.
Yes.
Other questions? I take it from this exchange that there's no fee stated in this draft? No. Or does it refer to a fee schedule by reference?
It's just by reference. It says it's going to be established by a separate resolution.
Yes, but
Don't we have a right-of-way permit fee now for other purposes? Or am I thinking of something else?
We do, it's a deposit.
Mr. Bernard, maybe you
Sorry.
so we can,
Excuse
we
me.
can establish a record.
I have one in my head.
Come to the microphone,
Thinking of
the
something else.
Director of Public Works, Scott Bregmeyer.
So if somebody's working in the right of way, there's a $500 deposit and a $1,000 deposit. That's different from the fee that we'll be looking at. We also have a fee associated with work that, for instance, Green Energies might be performing within the right of way. And that's based on how many excavations that they're going to be performing, the linear feet of cabling or gas main that they might be putting in, and then there's a difference between overhead and underground. Overhead is a little bit less expensive because there aren't as many excavations or they're impacting the right of way. So we do have that fee structure within the village code right now.
And how does it work? Do you think it's reasonable and appropriate?
Yeah, Attorney Larson and I worked on that probably about 5 or 6 years ago because when we started getting permits from We Energies, they started ramping up their replacements, and we realized how much time it took for us to review all our permit applications. And it was a good thing that we did because the year after we had undertaken the modification to the ordinance, we ended up getting a permit application for about 20,000 feet worth of gas main that they were installing. And that takes a number of hours, not countless, but quite a few hours to go out there to do the locating, inspect, to see what conflicts we might have in terms of water, sewer, and storm. So staff time is expended on that, and we've found that it's been very reasonable, and it's worked well.
Thank you.
Mr. Ponce?
And this is related to the small cell tower phenomena. One thing I was not completely clear on was the restrictions on above-ground structures, if you will. Because these small cell towers not only have an antenna on a pole of some sort, but they also have a equipment box on the ground, or I assume can be placed below ground. So can you kind of walk us through there what restrictions there are on placing these boxes at the base of the pole?
They can go at the base, they could go on the pole, or they can actually, they can go on the base, underground, or a lot of times they are actually attached to the pole for equipment. It's just part of the approval process. I'm not sure I'm following the question.
Well, I guess what I was trying to understand is I see there's a prohibition against new above-ground structures within 500 feet of a historic structure, and that got me wondering what restrictions are there generally on above-ground structures. I was thinking that if these boxes can be placed underground, can we require that any new boxes be placed underground?
I've never seen that. We would have to come up with some really good reason why.
Aesthetics is the reason, I guess.
I
Efficient
think,
reason?
yeah.
What was the reason?
Aesthetics.
Oh, aesthetics. Well,
Aesthetics alone probably would not.
And then otherwise,
We have other above-ground structures in the right of way.
I think Mr. Brandmeier might want to speak to this question.
While he's walking out, I know that we have other utilities that have boxes, and so we can't discriminate between different utilities.
To that point, if you recall, about 8 years ago, maybe 9, we went through a negotiation with AT&T because they wanted to use the right-of-way for their VRAD cabinets, and that was so that they could roll out their UVerse Internet TV. And there was a number of negotiations that went back and forth between the manager, village attorney, myself, and then we brought it to the village board for approval of the permits. So they do have above-ground cabinets. What we were able to do with those particular situations is say, okay, if you're going to have an above-ground cabinet, which is needed for their infrastructure, you had to beef up the shoulder, maybe instead of a 1-foot wide shoulder, you have a 3-foot wide shoulder, because typically the vehicles will park, and instead of parking off onto the grass and damaging the grass, then they're parking on a beefed up stone shoulder. So there are certain things that we did to undertake that to kind of soften the blow, if you will. So we do have a number of utilities that have above ground infrastructure. That's all part of the negotiation process that we went through with AT&T.
well, I suppose we could always, we could, it would not be discriminatory to say that any existing structures are okay, and new ones have to be underground. Might not fly as a practical matter, but this matter of discrimination, I think that might.
This has to be referred to the planning commission too, correct?
Actually, the right-of-way component doesn't, but there's a zoning component that does, so so B on the agenda does not, C does. My recommendation though is that you act on them together, so given that C has to be referred to the planning commission, I would not take any final action on B.
Would someone like to make a motion? I make a motion. I move that we refer both B and C to the planning commission. Set a public hearing for this for our April 2019 meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tribe. Further discussion? Mr. Thompson.
On this, I know you had a couple of questions on the telecommunication mobile services facilities ordinance. First of all, it says there is not a down zoning ordinance. Can you enlighten us on what a down zoning ordinance is?
It's something that the state legislature invented that they call it exactly that, a down zoning ordinance, which means that you're restricting the use of property. If you are adopting a zoning ordinance that's going to prevent somebody from conducting certain uses on their property, it's a down zoning ordinance, triggers a supermajority voting requirement.
Okay. Then my other question is, we got from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities a write-up from they provided from the law firm, the Warden Park Law Firm. I don't know if you're familiar with that. My question was if there was anything in that memo that you thought we should consider that is not in here.
I saw it at the same time you did. It came out from the league in the last few days. I have glanced through it. Nothing stood out to me. I know the author well, Anita Gallucci. She and I have done presentations together on these issues. I'm very familiar with her positions. We don't agree on everything. But I respect her a lot. She's a great attorney. And I'm sure she did excellent work. I didn't see anything in here that caused me alarm or made me rethink anything.
Thank you.
Anything further? All right, so the motion and the second is to refer both matters to the planning commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The matter gets referred to the planning commission and the public hearing is set for April 2019 meeting. Very good. We move to new business. 5A, the property located at 411 East Bradley Road. Maybe I'll ask the village manager to introduce the matter, then we have some public comment, and we'll ask to hear from the property owner, and we'll carry on from there.
Thank you very much. These two properties have been, have received attention from staff pretty much since I got here 4 years ago, and they have been problem children. Hi, Julie. Candidly, it got to the point where in staff discussions, we were not being responded to. And I convened a meeting with Attorney Larson, Mr. Brandmeier, myself, and Mr. Wackow was here as the building inspector to come up with a strategy. And the first step in the strategy is included in your packet this evening, where Mr. Larson, on behalf of the village, to the owners of the property, strongly requesting their appearance, and so they could communicate to you whatever you want, but in our mind, to discuss why the board should not commence an action against the owner, against both these properties, which is statutorily guided, but could result in everything up to condemnation and taking them down.
Could you describe
the structural or?
You're gonna ask me. He's the guy on the other side.
The safety issue concerning these properties.
Well, we have had, there's safety issues in terms of, I think in some of our internal discussions, they simply don't meet code. They are an attractive nuisance. We've had numerous complaints from neighbors on both properties, and, we try to work with people on all of our properties, because our goal is to have properties be well kept. Our goal is not to stick our nose in stuff, and we've got other stuff to do. But these two properties have been we've been ignored. And frankly, it's time for the village to just consider saying we're going to deal with this, and we're going to take it on. Or we're going to get some idea that there is going to be something done from the two owners. What the time frame is, as you know, is they're going to do. And if you're satisfied with that, then you can be satisfied with that. If you're not satisfied with that, then Attorney Larson will explain to you the options that you have before you.
Before we, Mr. Owen, I'll recognize you.
Have you heard back from either or?
Actually, a representative of both parties, I believe, are in the audience.
Thank you.
Mr. That's one of us at the, Port China.
Both of these are residential properties.
Okay. All right, well, here,
And they're
we,
I do have some pictures. I thought that we would have them in your packet, but they are not in the packet. This is a couple of pictures of 411.
we'll pass these around to the board, to the audience members who might be interested. How long ago were those taken?
I believe these are quite recent. Here's some pictures. 139.
The second property is 159, East Redwood Road.
We have a speaker card on this. I'd like to invite Julia Goldberg to address the board, please.
I live right.
First, you have to say your name and your address, and then you have the floor.
Julia Goldberg. I live at 415 East Bradley, so this top 411 is directly next to me on the west side. So it's been going on for about four years or so, and Scott's been very helpful answering my emails and just trying to touch base on this. And I've been very patient as they've tried to fix it and tried to redo it, but I've had some issues. They've broke my fence, they broke my front fence, didn't claim responsibility. They took down some paneling on the side of my fence, and then they've left it very dirty. Like I've had to pick up trash after them, and now it's basically been open for the past 2 years. If you look at the back, that picture is on the back, and it's completely open. There's a hole in the roof. They've had to do some foundation work, and there's a huge hole in the foundation. So it's kind of dangerous for if anybody walks back there, animals get stuck back there. So it's just, they don't maintain the property at all. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to do something about it. So.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address the board on this issue? Mr. Owen?
I was just going to ask the young lady if possible, wasn't there another house on the other side of you?
Yeah, I have one on the other side too that's
To the east?
To the east side, yes. I'm surrounded.
And
Hold on, but that's not an issue here, so I think we should just confine ourselves
No, but
to
yeah, I'm more my
to the issue of the moment.
I thought it was the house to the east, or that's why I'm asking.
Gotcha, I'm familiar with that too, Mr. Owen, yes. I think probably we all are, this is not a large village. The property owner is here. I'd like to invite him up to address the board on his concern. And please state your full name and your address for the record.
Tony Evans, 4823 West Anthony Drive. I don't know what to do here, so.
Oh, well,
You want to know what the status is?
yes, we do. The manager and the inspector have reported that this property is a nuisance. It is not maintained, it is substandard, it does not meet the code, and has been for a long period of time. The village attorney has instructed, not instructed, but suggested to the board it could take legal remedies if it wishes. So that's what we'd like you to address.
Well, we just took this place back in early September of 2018.
Well, can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, we borrowed money to the people that were supposed to do all the work, the people that knocked down our fence, whatever they did, that had nothing to do with me. We just borrowed money to people that were supposed to do the work.
Well,
Yeah.
do you own the property?
We do now,
Well, how long have you owned the property?
early September of
And
18.
who owned the property before that?
It was, I think, under Buyer's Edge LLC. There are two brothers that were in charge of taking care of it. We borrowed the money to do the work, and they were supposed to fix the house up. They were supposed to sell the house and pay us back. We had done 10 deals with these guys.
You took the property.
We foreclosed.
You foreclosed
We foreclosed.
in your construction lien? Is that what you're saying?
We foreclosed it. We had the mortgage on the house. Like,
Because you lent money for
We-
improvement.
correct. So they didn't pay us back. They didn't get the work done. They had a lot of promises. They didn't fulfill any of them. I
And
mean,
so-
they did some minor things, but they
Right.
did all dumb things like tear the back wall out and tear the chimney out and tear the windows out. But there's a lot of stuff we couldn't do because we didn't own the place.
And when did you take it back, or when did you take title?
Early September of 2018.
Okay.
So I heard the number 4 years. That's not my 4 years. I mean, we borrowed money to him March 25th of 16. What happened before that, I had no idea. I never saw the house before that.
You lent money to them, also?
Yes.
Got it, okay.
So because when they didn't pay us back and they didn't do the work, we actually had a buyer that was gonna buy the house from us. That didn't happen. She's the one who actually was in charge of 139, got Good Hope, he's Good Hope. So she's the one who was gonna buy the house, so things kept getting delayed and plus all the promises. So we gave him a drop dead date, that didn't happen. Called our attorney, he served the foreclosure. We took it back. Then after we took it back, we wanted to inspect the house, so we had Genduza come by, inspect the new foundation they put in.
Who's this person?
Genduza is a foundation company. They do, they're like engineering company. So they came by, they checked the house out, they found out that all that new foundation that was put in was done completely wrong. They didn't get a permit I was told they got a permit, they got it finalized. The brothers that owned it before me and my brother did, paid them, but never got an inspection that I know of. So I said, well, so it's, that's when things kind of got really bad. So after we took the place back, we found out about the foundation being no good, in a tune of up to $35,000 of a mistake. So that's what it would take to fix it. So we looked at options of just knocking the house down and selling the lot. That didn't, well, we'd have been in six-figure losses at that point. So we were trying to do different things to try to find somebody who could fix the place up. Because honestly, it's a little over our head. I mean, we do rehabs, but not to that extent. And I don't want it to be more of a problem if we would get involved, because we don't know what we're doing completely. So we went through 13 different people that looked through the house at different times. We had an appointment with a company called WEPS. Actually had it last Friday. It was a very good meeting. After the meeting, I talked to a lady I knew from church that is an architect. We hired her to redraw the drawings that were given to us when we took the place back. She's expecting to have the drawings finalized in 2 to 3 weeks. And then, in the meantime, we're going to work on a contract for WEPS. They said it'd be another 2 more weeks to get bids back. If everything goes right with the bids and the contract, then we're gonna move forward. They're hoping to start reworking on a house, or working for them on a house in April, depending on weather. The hope is to have the house finished by August, September, and put it on the market. My hope is to have a house sold by the end of the year or before. I mean, it's been a nightmare for me. I know it's been a nightmare for these people to the east. And people from the west, he said he didn't mind, he didn't care, because nobody's around here to bother him. But for me, it's a bother because we're in a hole a lot, and we have to put a lot more money into the place. We know we're gonna lose money. There's no doubt about that, but it's not fair to the, the village, it's not fair to the people. We have to fix somebody else's wrong. But, so, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than we're trying. I can show you the contract for the architect, I can show you Jen Duz's information, I could show you
If
whatever
the
you want.
bids don't come back favorable, you said the guy was gonna go out and get estimates, or you said bids. but-
Well, he
Right
looked
now,
at, he
right
looked
now,
at the
right now, I
bids.
hear nobody, I hear nothing you said says anybody is in this deal but you and your brother. You met with me, we had a great meeting, you're gonna get bids, that's all great, but that means nothing to me, because there's no commitment there, is there?
There is no commitment now.
That's what I'm, yeah, that's what I'm saying, so right now.
But it's important to me because I'm the one.
And that's wonderful, I get it, it's just, there's some, on a part of the village,
I understand.
we're not anywhere different than we were before. You had a meeting, it was great, but there's no commitment.
Well, we do have a contract with the architect. We did talk to the guys in WEPS. They did give us a general about what it's gonna cost. I told you we're gonna lose money on it, but.
When was this house built?
When was it built?
When was it built? Yeah.
I have no idea.
This is the, one of the oldest inhabited parts of the village.
Okay.
And I'd be curious, because we could be looking at structures that's well over 100 years old. I don't know that for a fact.
My memory was, I thought it was built in the 40s, 1940s. So,
The one east of it could be.
Yeah, 417.
Right,
yeah, I don't think
The
it's,
one west of the lady's house,
Yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah.
there's no way
Not that old.
Okay.
yeah, I don't think that's that old. Feels to be haunted that long, but.
Yeah, Mr. Constable?
Can you tell us what things you are planning to do to the house to get it ready so that it's marketable?
Get it ready?
Yeah,
practically
what
rebuild.
work are you planning to do?
Tear up the new foundation, to rebuild the foundation that's on the house right now, because the basement's bad. Rebuild the walls, put a second floor on, put an addition on that's correct, would be going south, and add a 3.5-car garage, and living quarters above it.
Mr. Alden?
What have you done since September?
What have I done since September? I had to check on the foundation, like I explained. When we got that information back, we had to look at options, and one of the options is knocking the house down because it's gonna cost a lot of money. Our preliminary, we talked to 13 different people that came through the place, gave us ideas on what to do with it. All the prices were, well, way out. It would have been better to knock the house down at that point. When we talked to WPS, they gave us some preliminary numbers that are very doable.
I'm looking at it for 5 months and really, my personal opinion, nothing's been done.
Nothing's been done structurally in a house, that's true, but when we took the place back, we had to deal with, we have to deal with the contractors. When we try to get people to come over before, first of all, the attorney says, don't go there, you don't own the place. Once you own the place, people didn't want to do like, well, when you own a place, call me. So it's not very easy to get contractors over there to get bids right now because they're very busy. I mean, the bad ones aren't, but we don't want to deal with the bad ones. So we have, we inherited a big problem. And it's not 2.5 years that, it is since we bought the place, but it's not under our control.
I'm going to ask the village manager and then the village attorney to suggest to the board what they view as a reasonable course of action here.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Did you say that if you take it back and you're gonna look at increasing losses? Is that what you said?
No, I said if we knock it down.
Well, okay.
I mean,
And I realize
bids
your losses would be what you have extended in credit to the previous person who didn't take care of it, right? So you led them on loss, whatever it was. What did you take back?
the house.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
foreclosed on the house.
you're doing this and you're still hoping you're gonna make money at it. You don't know that you're going to.
I don't think we are, but maybe it'd be nice, but I don't think we are. It's just less of a loss.
Okay, that's what I mean. You think it'll be less of a loss?
Yeah.
Doing it this way. Okay. I mean, this is truly a sort of a group policy decision. I mean, and I'm probably the wrong guy to ask because this has just been I gotta be honest with you, I'm trying to be nice looking at it like, what is he gonna say? It's like you will speak to people every damn day on this thing, and I can't get anything, it's not that hard. It is really not that hard, and I've got neighbors sitting over there who have been extremely patient. There's no excuse for the back of the damn house to be gone. There's just not.
I agree.
And these
I mean, I
people have
agree
been
with
really
what you're saying.
patient. And you guys have had now, and not supervising the foundation work, did you say the foundation, they didn't get a permit this fall? Or was that?
That wasn't me.
Okay.
That was before me.
You've had it now though since September, right?
Yeah, but then I found out after September about the foundation.
I guess at the end of the day, I'm guessing what you said. I'd take it down. I just can't imagine you're gonna make money at this thing, we're gonna fix this, you're gonna find stuff in there that, it's just my gut, and I'm not a professional, he's a professional. But I just think the board has to think strongly about, do you really believe it's ever gonna get done? And how much longer should the neighbors have to wait?
Well, I
And
mean,
I'll let Mr. Larson can absolutely disagree with me, he can lay out the risks, pros and cons of that, but in a nutshell, that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm going to recognize Mr. Larson and then Mr. Corrado.
First a question. You said you had 13 people look through it to try to fix it up, and then you had WPS there.
Yes.
Uh,
They're the ones that are doing
Whoa, okay.
the property down the road from it.
So you're trying to find a good contractor at a good price. But do you have, I'm wondering, how realistic is it in terms of the financing? Are you going to have the money to get it done?
Yes. I have the money to get it done.
Well,
I mean, I can,
how much?
What do you need from me? I can show you that I have the money to get it done. That's not a problem.
What are the estimates?
This last one is 242,000.
You think that's a realistic estimate?
I do. I think it's, at this point, that's 242 would be included with realtor fees. And, I think everything all in.
Well, that would be a
Additional.
realtor fee to rebuild the house.
I mean, I'm talking about my cost, the realtor fees we have to pay for, so I include that in there. Up in front. To sell it, yeah.
And we don't
What do you
care
think
about
just
that.
the cost of the work is?
I mean,
Not the selling, cost of.
oh,
construction.
I think that, well, a realtor would be about 33,000. So now I'm questioning if I had that included or not. But if we had, the money we have outstanding plus the 242, we know we're gonna, like I said, we think we're gonna take a little bit of a loss, but it's be less than a loss on the, 6 figures if we knock the place out and sell the land.
Mr. Corrado?
Why don't you tear the house down and build a new one with the money, with the estimate you just had?
Because I think it's cheaper to do this house. And either way, we're still knocking it down and still rebuilding it. So I haven't really had, I mean, with the weather the way it's been, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, people don't come out like you think they should to get, and every year have estimates on houses, it's not easy. And we're talking about a major project. So I would like to have a chance to get it done and get it done right. I can give these people my business card. You know, I've dealt with Mike a little bit when the previous owners didn't pay the junk guys. They had the big bin that was set out there forever. You know, and when they left, they dumped all the garbage and they took off without it, not getting paid. Mike gave me a call, we got it cleaned up. You know, I've been doing whatever Mike's asked me to do, I've done.
All right, Mr. Larson, why don't you set out our options,
Sure.
including our legal options, then I'll recognize you.
Well, we could commence a raise process, and we are agendaed for closed session, and I would prefer to talk about that in depth in closed session, but just in general, we do have a raise or repair process under the state law where we give notice and say that this is not in compliance with code and the reasons why. The statute gives 30 days, or it gives a period of time. 30 days is probably generous under the statute to come into compliance, or we can go out and raise it ourselves. I wouldn't recommend we do that. Typically, we would go to court, get a court order to raise it. We'd recover the costs, charge our costs against the property. We have done that in the village in the past. So that's one option. Another option would be to set some firm milestones and say, okay, this is what you've told us, and have them come back every month and report. Did you get that done? And we always have the option of commencing the raise order process if at any point the milestones aren't being met. Our goal is to get compliance. It's not, we aren't out here for punishment. We're out to get compliance. And so whichever you think is the quickest way to the bottom line, I leave that to your policy judgment.
Mr. Altman, are there any liens on the property?
No.
From all the work that, allegedly all the work that was done, nobody put a lien on it?
When we foreclosed, all those things were wiped out.
Okay. And you're saying the weather is part of the reason you haven't started to do anything? We look over at Dunwood, we see a massive buildings going up over there at Dunwood. People are building, I know two people, right, one here in Fox Point Bayside, they're building, they're doing foundations, everything. And they've been doing it all winter long. And I'm looking at 5 months. You haven't done anything.
Well, honestly, I can't, if we took it back in early September, I would love to have the house done. I want it done more than anybody. I know these people probably want it, done pretty darn bad too, but, I've never been in this situation before, as far as having this kind of, I've been doing this since 1985, not doing rehabs, but being a landlord and property owner, and I don't have problems with people, so the weather, if the situation was signed, and we had the plans are approved by the village, the weather's not going to stop us.
Okay, so why didn't you start getting off, you say you have the money.
Yeah.
So why don't you get the plans done in September and get going? Why are we waiting until February to get an architect to start drawing up plans?
Well, because again, when October came around, we looked at the foundation. When we found out they didn't have compliance with this village, we had to hire somebody to go and take a look and make sure it was done right, and it wasn't. So that changed the plans. What was that?
Is it, Mr. Larson, given where we are on this, would you suggest we discuss this further in closed session?
We certainly could. If we're going to tell the owner that he should come back next month and show us the progress he's made, we may want to be very specific about that now while he's here. Or we could go into closed session and come out, if he's here, we can tell him then, or we can send him a letter, so either way.
Ms. Sumner.
Yeah, I mean, just what I'm struggling with is, so it sounds like you lent money to these people to fix this house, and then they didn't do it. So, I mean, that, I'm sure it was a decent sized investment, so why did it take you 2.5 years to finally gain control of the property? I mean, I would think if you've been doing this since 1985, you would know some milestones that should have been happening, and I mean, they obviously weren't happening, and so why, like, what were you, I mean, how were you looking out for your investment? Like, what were you doing during those 2.5 years to make sure that this project was moving along? And, what were you doing once you realized that it wasn't?
Well, I've been a property owner since '85. I've not been doing rehab since '85. Have not been lending money from '85. What I meant by the 1985 number is that I've never had a problem before, and I'm not looking forward to a problem. I want to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
My intention is to get the place done and sold by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
As far as why, we did a lot of deals with these guys, and there was delays. A lot of the stuff that he told us it made sense, like delays of this and that. Whether it was with the village, whether it was with the architect, whether it was with the planning commission, it all sounded legit, and it got to where we were to the point where we wanted to, say we want our money back or we want the place back. Complications came up with them having, because if we would have took the place back in a quick claim, we'd have had it sooner, but they also were running up numbers with unpaid bills under that LLC. We would have assumed all that. So that wasn't the route to go. We wanted to deal with them. They found a buyer for the place that was going to buy the place. That was Michelle Lorenzo from that 139 East Good Hope. People don't come up and just tell you, oh, by the way, I'm going to buy the house, I'm a liar. Yeah, it'd be more convenient, but it doesn't happen that way, so things dragged out. I'm losing money every day in this place. It doesn't help me to keep it dragging out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mr. Ponstad? I think you said that you're expecting to get finalized drawings in 2 weeks, and that you want to get bids in a couple of weeks also.
I think it was 3 to 4 weeks for the architect and 2 weeks for bids.
2 weeks for bids, 3 to 4 for the architect. And that your goal is to start work in April?
Correct.
Well, I mean, we need to see the property fixed up, whether it's raised and first or whether it's rebuilt. I mean, if you can, I think from our standpoint, I would think that if you are able to get it rebuilt this summer and sold this fall, that's a good result. But I'm a little skeptical.
I would be RU too. I mean, you probably heard this before from other people. If they even showed up, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, and I've got a lot more incentive than anybody here. Me and my brother do to get this thing done, and I want to get it done. It's not. I feel bad and I'm here. I feel bad and I'm wasting your time. This shouldn't be a problem. But it is, and now it's my problem. So I'm sorry that everybody has to be here. I'm sorry that the guy wrecked your fence and did a half-assed job on a house. That's not something I'm going to do.
You referenced a couple times 139 East Good Hope in Michigan. Was there at one time potentially some kind of same ownership, or there's a connection between these two properties?
She wanted to buy the house on 411 from Tom and Matt from Myers Edge.
She meaning the owner?
Well, at the time she was the owner of 139. She did the same thing. She borrowed money from a lender and
just fixed up that 139 property, and she wanted to do the same, but it fell through. It didn't happen.
It didn't. No, actually. I've got a closing statements here. I mean, there was like several closings that were set up,
okay.
And the money never showed up on her end.
Okay. What's the general business practice or within funding LLC? I'm assuming.
Infinity Funding is to borrow money to people to fix up houses, and
okay, that's what I kind of assumed.
Yeah.
I was curious. Okay.
we also have we have a Properties Plus, which is a rental business, so we have like a side business to do that.
Okay.
what do you think you're gonna be able to sell this house for once you're done?
The guys from EPS said that, they thought once a house was finished, that they thought they could get in the neighborhood of 500,000 for it.
How big is the lot? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
But you said you had, it's gonna cost $242,000,
Right now.
and you think you're gonna sell it for $500,000?
But we have about $270,000 into it right now.
For what?
The house that we paid the money for, 182?
You paid $150 for it.
No, we did not.
Well, I'm looking at a listing here from 7/14/2015, sold for $150,000.
We paid 182. I think what that was is from the previous. I think what the guy did is he got the deal for 152 and made 30 grand on it and jumped it to us. I can show you. I don't have it with me.
I'm
But
just reading that MLS
understand.
listing, and
I
it's
understand.
pretty accurate, so 150's got the date.
I could show you. I'd be more happy to show you the March 25th of 2016.
All right, so you're not on here then, so that was a private transaction.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
And the 240 includes 33,000 of commission.
I think so.
That's like 16%. If I did my math right, 242 with a 209, 2 times the base cost of the house, right? That's like 15 point. You sure that number right?
We sell it for $500,000.
Okay, that number means, okay, I get it. Because I saw
That was the
$1 million
commission
too,
is based on the 6%.
Okay.
The problem I'm having is that your plan doesn't seem realistic. Because it's hard to figure out how this is gonna work on a reasonable time frame and how you're gonna sell the house and come out anywhere close to where you say you are. I don't think there's any $500,000 houses within quite a stretch of that property.
There are. Well, there are.
Or
There really are.
And the sale price seems like a rabbit hole that we're going under. I mean, I was a neighbor, I wouldn't care if the house was sold, I want the house presentable. So whatever you can sell it for, I think is a rabbit hole that we could care less about at this point. It seems, unless there's a third option, it seems he's got a credible option that involves the least amount of time to get the house looking nice for the neighbors. And I would suggest something like we bring this back on April, or if you're generous, the May meeting, and we scrutinize what he's done from now until then, including signed contracts and maybe some development work, and then we make a decision then.
Mr. Manager, if we went that route, would you suggest milestones between now and then that he would come to you and you and the inspector would sign off on?
I guess my question for Eric is, do you want to have this discussion in closed session?
I think we have some things.
I think I'd rather answer that in person.
Mr. Funstead? No? All right, so,
You may wish to stick around.
Yeah, I can.
yeah, you may wish to stick around because eventually we will come out of closed session. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, we'll move to item 5B, the property located at 189 East Clifford Road. Again, I'll ask the manager to summarize where we are on this property.
Summary is very similar. I did speak to Andrew Nagel, and
I asked the audience members to speak outside the room if you're going to talk.
and I understand a gentleman from the WL, whatever, is here. This is representing Mr. Nagel, and Mr. Nagel is unable to make it tonight because of weather, daycare, whatever else, but I did ask him to.
So state your name and address and who you are.
Address, Will Stelter. I own WR Stelter and Sons and Integrity Contractors Group. I live in Lake Mills, Wisconsin. W7672 Conservation Road. I won't be able to speak on his behalf about anything prior to today. I'm only here to
move forward. He contacted me as a new general contractor, but I haven't signed anything with him yet.
So you don't have a legal arrangement with them at the current time?
Not yet.
Came a long way.
My daughter's actually playing soccer right now in Brookfield, so I'm going to get back to her shortly.
Outside.
Nice facility.
The same show, different day on this one. You've seen the pictures. Same options are before you. Do you have any idea as to, I mean, I'm sure that you all have talked about, even though you don't have a legal relationship, and you can choose to answer or not since you don't, have you talked about, again, timelines? He sent me a scan of this design, and the inside, frankly, we don't, I don't want to say we don't care about, but this is not for this body. We want it to meet code primarily from exterior, exterior. So have you talked about timelines? Have you talked about what it is you're going to do?
Assuming I can get my hands on the previous plans that the other owner had before Andrew, then I can get those put together and get the proper documents for your building department together, and then we can move forward from there, getting a permit and completing the project.
And is this a property that, assuming that you got the permits from Mike and you got all this stuff put together, that you would not have to wait until the stone melted? Was this something you could be able to start?
We can start moving right away. You know, I'm cleaning it up and making it somewhat presentable, but I did walk the property and it's in pretty bad shape. The original scope of work that I saw in the records that you have online, I don't think will apply anymore. We'll have to put a new scope of work together.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Summer.
I mean, it's always, are you saying that like this detail that's included here is probably unrealistic?
I think there's going to be additional items added to that scope.
I mean, and then is this a project that you're interested in taking on? I mean, are we like speaking with you as someone who will be doing this work, or?
Yep. I have a team of employees that would take this on. We've already contacted the department, building department, once various. We just have to, I'm interested in doing it for sure. And I don't know how many other options he has.
Any idea on the timeline you expect?
If I have to get new drawings put together, I'll have to hire an architect. So that could, depending on their timeline, I mean, that could be up to 3 or 4 weeks if we're lucky, before we even get plans to get permits. So, and then once we get the permits, we can, put our construction statement together and get a proper schedule put together.
Mr. Roman?
So you've been involved since December?
They basically contacted me in December. I haven't been hired or
The notice is here in December.
I have other projects with a gentleman named Rob Chandler, who is friends with Andrew. So that's how that conversation came in. But my schedule would never have allowed anything to happen up until now.
Can we hear from the building inspector?
Excuse me?
Can we hear from the building inspector in this house?
Sure, yes, we can. Mr. Inspector? You got,
State your name, please.
state your name.
Mike Rocco, building inspector.
This house has been bad before you got here. Do you have the date it started with the?
I don't know off the top of my head. It was before my time.
Yeah, I mean, the permits have been expired for years, the way I understand it.
The addition, from my knowledge, there was no permit for that.
Yeah, it's illegal how they put it on too, the way I understand.
What was that?
It wasn't put on, like code.
Well, that I don't know, but there was no permit, and typically didn't go to building board, from my understanding. So
Did you, how good, you just live Well, I heard about this house, gosh, it's gotta be a couple of years ago. And I was told that, they didn't have a permit for that, and there wasn't up to code. And you just walk through, to see what it looks like on the outside now with the weather. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Soper, thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
It's helpful. Any other questions for Mr. Soper? Yes, Mr. Owen.
How long have you been in business? This is your business now, right?
Correct. Yeah, W.R. Stelter and Sons. I've been in business for 20 years, but that particular company has been 6 years, and I also formed Integrity Contractors Group about a year ago.
Have you done any work here in Fox Point yet?
No, Whitefish Bay right now, and local up in Jefferson County area, developing some land there.
That's where you're from, Jefferson?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I might suggest, because I'm just a nice guy, that since you have to go to Brookfield and you're legally not related to the owner at this point, I would, if it's okay with you, get your butt to Brookfield. We'll obviously I'll contact the owner tomorrow. I think that's just be courteous.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All right, very good. We'll move to, before we go to closed session, we have a few more items to cover. Future agenda items. Item 6. Does any board member wish to put an item on a future agenda? Hearing none, we move to announcements. I'll defer Mr. Fonstad.
Just a couple of things. The forester distributed to me a community tree map inventory, which I'm happy to share with anybody. Actually, it could be the village manager could share. It shows that in terms of size and varieties of trees, we are well represented in the tree area. The other topic I was going to report on is the library. Two things related to that. We have been anxious to know the role the foundation would play in the raising funds for the renovation of the library space. At the last meeting of the library board, we were told that the foundation will not be doing any fundraising for the renovation. They said they don't do bricks and mortar. I think this project needs to help professional fundraising effort, and that's the position I've taken with the rest of the board. I hope that will come to fruition. The other thing I would say on the library project is that the board has requested the respective village managers to get together and tell us what needs to happen so that we are in a position to ask the various boards to approve the renovation project. So I know they met a week and a half ago. I don't know what took place, but that is what's going on in the library.
Thank you. Ms. Sumner.
No announcements.
Mr. Collado.
No announcements.
Mr. Collado. Mr. Owen.
No announcement.
I'll ask the village manager for announcements, and I'm hoping we will discuss the pool.
Just briefly, I know,
Make an announcement.
yeah, I don't need to get into it. We had our open house, the open public meeting. It was extremely, I thought it was well attended. I thought it was a nice meeting. It was great to have, people come and give their disparate opinions, pro and con, and insights and different things. Mike has typed up a summary of, he got a summary from Ayers of the comments. They had comment cards, and they had red stickers, and you put red and green, red and blue, whatever they were. Red and green. Green being good, red being not good, on 4 different concept plans, and so we could see graphically what people thought. And so that information is still being compiled, and then Marty and Christine, the pool committee, will continue to push it along. So I guess that's probably the nuts of it, but it was a nice night. We had lots of people here of ages 2 to 80, I guess, whatever the numbers were. But It was, I thought it was well done. I thought it was well done. Secondly, and I just have a list here of just little things, I don't want to forget them. Last fall, if you remember, we did lease our south tennis courts to Dominican. If you remember that discussion, Mr. Frazier. And as you told me, neither one of us got any complaints because we have north tennis courts and they do it in the afternoon and everything else. They've come back to us, and I think we've developed a relationship with them, is that they're going to come and they're going to use it again from March 25th to the end of May. And we received some remuneration for that, so that's a good use of our assets. So it's a fair price for them, and it's more than zero for us. So that's a good thing. Secondly, if you remember last year, we've done this the last couple of years, the Grand Avenue rummage sale up at the commercial bistro site, which we've had the last couple of years. The last time you did this, and it was 2 times ago, you changed the conditional use permit so the manager can approve unless there's something drastic. They're going to have it the exact same weekend, the first weekend in May. That Brickman has donated the space again. He's written a letter saying it's fine with him. And you know, each year they have a nonprofit that they support when they do this. This year it's going to be Friendship Circle, which I know you and I spoke about for other things, and Project/Operation Dream. Friendship Circle, I know you're familiar with, I think we talked about them in the past, but provides support, friendship opportunities for people with special needs in the community. So that's what the Friendship Circle is. You see their stickers on cars and such. Operation Dream provides support and development opportunities for boys and young men ages 4 to 19 who live in low-income neighborhoods in Milwaukee. They provide mentoring for these individuals. So those are the 2 organizations that they have chosen to support this year. Other than that, from the village's perspective, it's going to be identical as it has been for the last couple of years. So I just want to let you know that that's going on, and I haven't yet, but I'm going to write them a letter blessing that request. I also have in my hot little hands your official Village of Fox Point Office 365 email account information sheets. So Christine's not here. That's a very secret password. Eric Fonstadt, Mr. Kravitz, and Mr. Ullman, and Marty Gerardo, and Adler, so you're good to go. If you have any, I think this is a pretty self-explanatory sheet. The password that's on there obviously is temporary. You can create your own. You can probably all do this, but this will be then your official Village of Fox Point address, so your constituents can, as we talked about before, your constituents ideally would use this as their email contact for you all. It can be put on the website. It does segregate then your personal private home email from your village email, public records requests, all sorts of reasons. This is all a good idea. And if you have any issues, let us know. Mike know, let me know. I think the only thing that we've taken care of, Mike, is that hopefully today we've gotten rid of some unwanted spam that we've gotten as we made the conversion. So we converted from what we had before to Office 365. I pray to God we got rid of the spam. Because this is laughing at what we say what it was. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, if you have issues, let me know. And I'll give Christine this person over time. Lastly, and Kelly's here to help me if I totally mess this up. Probably will. We have found a party, Government PayNet, who will accept credit card, allow citizens to use credit cards to make payments. It integrates with our financial software, which, remember, we had all sorts of people want to do this, but it didn't talk nice to our financial software. And Civic Systems is our, they do 80-90% of the cities in Wisconsin anyway. There's kind of a preferred vendor. Do not ask me that question. That's okay.
This is announcements.
Yeah, okay. And it will not cost us any money. It allows us to have that fee applied to the person making the payment, which is something we wanted to do because I didn't want to eat that cost necessarily, especially with water utility. It's a regulated utility. PSC doesn't like to let cities do that. There's all sorts of reasons. We'll get into it. But Kelly and Jeannie have kind of taken this on, and I want to make sure you know this is underway because we've talked about it in the past. And when it's actually launched, we will let you know. Thank you. And I think that's all I got.
One of my duties and privileges as village president is to attend the monthly meeting of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Council. We have to take 2 breaths to say that, or the eyes to see that. That's the monthly meeting of the chief elected officials of the municipalities of Milwaukee County and the county executive. In the January meeting, which I could not attend, but Mr. Botcher attended in my place, the governor came, which was unusual and very helpful because the body was able to discuss and explain to the governor correctly across the table exactly what the local and county concerns were, including hopefully revisiting the funding formula, which has not been revisited in many years, and I think we got a positive reception to that. One of the advantages of an administrative changing, that's any administration, is you have new people come in, and they have new thoughts and ideas, and they sometimes are open to things that the old administration just frankly wasn't. So maybe we'll make some progress there. At the meeting on Monday, which was yesterday, which I did attend, the Speaker of the House, Robin Voss, came and presented. Again, very unusual for this body, and we had a very interesting give and take about, again, county and local concerns, the funding formula, a very pointed exchange about dark store legislation. But what was positive was that these elected officials on the state level are showing up for the first time in recent memory and actually allowing us to talk to them in a reasonable and positive way, and we don't have to go to them to lobby. So I just wanted to express that I believe that those are both positive developments. Yes, all right, so we move to agenda item 8, closed session. It is anticipated that the village board will convene in the closed session for the following reasons. A, pursuant to state statute section 1985 for the purpose of deliberating the purchase of public properties, so on and so forth, for the possible acquisition of land for drainage and stormwater retention purposes. Participating in this portion of the closed session will be the village board, village manager, village assistant manager, public works director, and village clerk treasurer. We have to vote on these separately? We can do it together. 8B, pursuant to state statute section 1985 1G, to confer with counsel with rendering legal advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation, which it is or likely to become involving properties located at 411 East Bradley Road and 139 East Good Hope Road. Participating in this portion of the closed session will be the village board, the village manager, village assistant manager, public works director, and village clerk treasurer. I'll ask the village clerk treasurer to call the roll. An affirmative vote is we move into closed session. A negative vote is against.
Trustee Fonstadt.
Aye.
Trustee Sumner.
Aye.
Trustee Torado.
Aye.
Trustee Kravitz.
Aye.
Trustee Ullman.
Aye.
President Frazier.
Aye. Very well, we'll move into closed session. We'll ask the junior member of the board to escort the audience out into closed